Hello again, this is Dr. Character. Just want to talk to you today about health papers, and specifically the new 6-month health paper called the Equine Event Permit. Health papers are certificates of health that are written by accredited veterinarians so that the animals can traverse state lines. If you have an animal that you need to move from one state to another, whether it be for selling the animal to a new individual, or maybe you go to another state and buy an animal, you have to transport it back to your state, or you just have a horse that you're going to take to a show or some other event that's located outside of your state, you'll need a health paper to legally move from one state to another. If you travel and you go from one state to another without appropriate health papers, you do run the risk of being pulled over by that state's law enforcement and possibly facing fines or confiscation or of your trailer or the animals or something like that. So the best course of action is simply get the health papers, and that way that you don't have to worry about that. Health papers, when they're written, are good for 30 days from the date that the health paper is written, and the requirements for what you need to have a health paper vary by state. The first thing that's required for health paper is the animal needs to be examined. This can be an examination anytime within the last 7 days before the health paper is written. So if you've had your veterinarian on the premise and they've seen your animal within the last 7 days, then technically a health paper can be written based on a previous exam. But usually what happens is you need to have that done pretty much. Usually you haven't had it done, so you have to have that done beforehand. In the case of horses, which is our subject for today on these equine event permits, a horse must also have a current negative EIA test. It's commonly known as a Coggins test. The equine infectious anemia is a virus. It's transmitted from horse to horse by blood contact, whether it be needles or more typically horseflies. And so all horses that receive a health paper must have a negative test within the last year, and that test must be good for the next 30 days. Otherwise, the health paper will expire the same day that the Coggins test expires. It may not last the whole 30 days if your Coggins test runs out before then. As we noted before, different states do have different requirements from time to time. Typically, traveling within the Southeast, all your states are going to be about the same, and usually that just means you need to have a good health exam and a current negative Coggins. There's a misunderstanding that some states require vaccinations to enter. This is typically not the case unless there is an endemic outbreak of something that is just currently going on. Some states possibly might institute a requirement for vaccination, but really, as far as the health paper is concerned, vaccinations are not really part of the requirement for a health paper. That's not to say, though, that it's not a good idea that your horse be current on its vaccinations. It is a good idea that they be current on their vaccinations before traveling, for two different reasons, or at least two different reasons. First of all, the act of traveling and shipping and riding on the trailer is very stressful for a horse, and is going to make them more susceptible to getting sick. And secondarily, or in addition to that, the horse will be going to a new environment where it will be probably encountering new viruses and bacteria that it's not used to. It may not have immunity to those. And because there's going to be around other horses, that may make them susceptible to other communicable diseases. So vaccinations are a good idea, but they are not typically a requirement for a health paper. Okay, so when you're going to get a health paper, please always allow enough time. That's a big deal, because you have to have enough time to get an exam scheduled, and then you also have, if you do not have a negative Coggins, you'll have to have enough time for that Coggins blood to be shipped to the lab to run the test, and then get the results back to your veterinarian to write the paper. And then once the paper's written, you're going to have enough time to go and actually physically pick up the paper. So in addition, you may be traveling to a state where there's an additional requirement, and that requirement may take some time to fulfill. So try not to wait till the last minute to schedule your health papers. At the same time, don't get them too early, because they're only going to be good for 30 days. If you're going to be traveling, be gone for 3 weeks, you don't want to get it 2 weeks before you leave and then have the paper run out before your trip back home. So keep that in mind as well. Alright, what if you need a health paper to last longer than 30 days? That's where the Equine Event permit comes in, especially if you are going to be just traveling within these states here. These states have reciprocal agreements with each other, so that if you get an Equine Event permit, then that permit will be good for travel within these states, and these states only, for 6 months. So that means if you have a rodeo schedule or show schedule that's going to take you to multiple places in different states within multiple months, the Equine Event permit is the way to go, because you can, with one permit, you can go ahead and go to all your events instead of having to keep getting health papers every 30 days. Okay, to get an Equine Event permit, it's a little different than a regular health paper. In addition to the Coggins test, you will need digital photographs of your animal. You'll need a photograph of each side of the animal and a photograph straight onto the face, so that it can be put on the form. There's an example of the form. On the form, you see the states at the top listed. Also includes the phone numbers for their state regulatory offices. It's going to have all your horse's identification information. It's going to have the pictures of your horse. It's going to have the information from the laboratory that ran the test and the results of the test. It's going to have your information and your veterinarian's information on this form. So, to review, health papers are a certificate of health written by a veterinarian who has examined your horse, and also require a negative Coggins. You need to get a health paper anytime that you're crossing the state line with your horse, going to another state, and if you're in another state and you're going to come back to your state, you need to have a valid health paper to come back in the state as well. If you need your health paper to last longer than 30 days, you're going to be going to multiple venues within the Southeast. The Equine Event permit is a good way to go. If you need some more information on this, you can go to our website, mobilevetservice.net/equinehp.htm, and you can watch this video again, and you can see the map again, and there's some additional information there as well about how to schedule to get some health papers. Hope this is helpful for you.